Hi everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. So today we're going to cover something that in my experience ruins far more Gaelic footballers' potential than anything they do on the pitch. Your discipline with these three things are either what's going to have you in fantastic shape come championship time to put in a big performance, a match-winning tackle, a match-winning score, or they're going to be the exact things that stop you from being in that position or being selected to even have the opportunity to have those big moments in the game in the first place. By this stage, we all already know that if you don't reach your potential as a Gaelic footballer, it's going to haunt you for a long time. And in my opinion, these three things to do with nutrition have as much of an impact when it comes to not reaching your potential as anything else. Now they're extremely common, and if you've made them in the past, don't feel too bad about it, because pretty much every Gaelic footballer goes through phases of making these mistakes. The vast majority of them who I've trained have went through long periods of making these mistakes. So there's no need to be ashamed about it, but you should be very hard on yourself if you become aware of the impact that these things have on your performance and don't make any effort to fix it. So the number one mistake, and in my experience the most common one in the GEA, is drinking too much alcohol. Alcohol robs you of high energy levels and it robs you of fitness. It makes you gain a lot of body fat. So just with calories alone, alcohol, if you have 10 pints every 2 weeks, which is 5 pints a week, or 10 pints every 2 weeks, which is a very moderate estimate, then that's 2,000 calories. 2,000 calories over 25 weeks in the year, so every second week, is 50,000 calories. So without any of the other negative effects of alcohol, just the calories alone, 50,000 calories in a year is huge. And you do that over across a few years, 10 years, that's 500,000 calories. You do that age 18 to 28, you've pretty much ruined your potential, or if you haven't ruined your potential completely, you've robbed a good chunk of it just by all those extra calories and being 5-10% body fat extra that you wouldn't have been if you drank not at all or drank less, which is the more common option for the elite Gaelic footballers. Most elite Gaelic footballers do drink, they just drink far less than average. Now, of course, when it comes to alcohol, it's not just the 500,000 calories in 10 years. It's not just the 50,000 calories in a year. It's also what it does to your sleep. A lot of you at this stage will have worn a Whoop or will know someone who've worn a Whoop, and you'll know the sleep score, the recovery score, goes to 0. Nothing negatively affects that recovery score quite like alcohol. The nights out even have a worse impact on the recovery score than running things like an ultramarathon, which I've done in the past. The alcohol actually takes more out of your system, which is crazy to think about. So it completely destroys your sleep, and good sleep is crucial for any athlete. If you want to lose fat or keep fat off, or if you want to build muscle, you want high testosterone, high energy levels, sleep is absolutely crucial. And alcohol is going to ruin it for at least 2 days. On top of that, you have the negative impacts on terms of organ health. So your liver, your heart, and all your internal organs are negatively affected by alcohol. And it also has massive negative impact on your digestion. It's very bad for gut health. Drinking lager is like drinking pints of bread basically, and it cuts the stomach off you. Your digestion, a lot of you won't need me to tell you, your digestion is not good the day you're drinking or the day after you're drinking. Your digestion is way off. So if you do that in your early 20s, you have a few wild years in college, you know, you and everybody else, don't feel too bad about it. But if you continue this heavy binge drinking all throughout your mid-20s and late 20s, then it's going to have a hugely negative impact that you could have avoided if you just had your few wild years in college and then cut it down and started to live a far more disciplined life. Now, when I was very young, I noticed that the top Gaelic footballers, or the guys at my GA club that I admired, drank far less than the ones that I didn't admire. And you'll notice that the top Gaelic footballers in every club or every county do something pretty similar. And that's, they'll have 1 or 2 big nights out every 6 months. And that's about it. After that, they might go for a few pints, maybe 5 to 10 pints, maybe once a month max. And that'll be the very standard, very typical trend for the top players that I've dealt with from many clubs and inter-county level across the past 16 years coaching players. What they do isn't very different at all. they'll all do something similar to that. And my advice to people when I'm trying to get them to cut down on alcohol is you'll save a lot of money. You'll save about 1,000 to 3,000 euro every 6 months if you cut alcohol down to a minimum and travel the world instead. Just go on a trip, go on a city break, go on a cheaper trip, save up, go to South Africa, go to South America, go to Southeast Asia, go to Dubai, go to Australia and visit some of your mates that have no doubt immigrated. But travel instead. Instead of spending all that money on alcohol, have your couple of wild nights, make sure you stay in touch with the lads. Remember, I don't want to rob anyone of the nights out with the lads. Some of the most important days and trips of my life have been having wild ones with the lads. And I want you to continue having them, but just do it in a far more controlled way. And there's loads of examples. If you look around at the players who are in top shape, you'll notice that they don't tend to miss out on those nights too much. They have them, they just have them less frequently. And when they do have them, then it makes it all the more special. That's what I did personally myself throughout my 20s. Nutrition mistake number 2 is never tracking calories and staying completely ignorant of what's important or what's most important about nutrition. So bringing it back to that muscle and strength nutrition pyramid by Eric Helms that is super helpful and super famous. You'll see that at the base of the pyramid, the most important thing when it comes to nutrition is calories and macros. So the calories are how much calories are in it, how much energies are in each food. And the macros are how much proteins, fats and carbs are in the foods that you eat every day. Staying uneducated about the calories, proteins, fats and carbs that are in the foods that you're eating every day is an enormous mistake. It leaves you completely powerless when it comes to changing your physique or changing your health or manipulating how much energy you have for games, for training sessions, for gym sessions. You just are completely unaware and you're guessing everything. Now there are plenty of examples of fellas who never tracked calories, never tracked macros, just focused on eating healthy and they were fine. But that's becoming rarer and rarer. And to explain one of the reasons why that is in the simplest possible form is because 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when our dads went to the supermarket or our grandfathers, they only had a very small selection of foods and they ate far more unprocessed foods, steak, eggs, vegetables, things like that. These days, if we go into any supermarket or any petrol station, any shop with a deli, we'll have enormous amounts of packaged foods there that just wasn't available 50 years ago. So we have so much more temptation all around us. It does make our lives a lot more complicated when it comes to picking the right things for food, because a lot of things that are unhealthy for you or not the best option are marketed as health foods. So you're never going to really understand how healthy or unhealthy something is until you start tracking the calories and the macros of it and you get a better look at it through that lens. So understand the proteins, fats, carbs and calories that's in your favorite foods, so the individual food, maybe like a chicken or chicken breast, and your favorite meals. So a chicken breast might be in a chicken curry or a stir-fry type dish. So the individual foods, track them, and the meals all added up, and you'll be able to eyeball, after a few months, you'll be able to eyeball all the foods that you typically eat, all the meals that you typically eat, and you'll be very educated just looking at all the foods in the supermarket, the ones that you typically eat at home. Remember, studies show that people tend to eat the same 10 to 20 foods all the time. So just becoming educated on those 10 to 20 foods is going to make a huge difference. That's the approach that I take with my clients. I just want to get them really, really locked in and educated on the 10 to 20 foods that they eat the most often. And that's your lion's share of the work when it comes to educating yourself with nutrition. But if you want to be in an educated position, which makes it far more sustainable, because if you're educated, you're more likely to stick to these habits because you understand why you're doing these things and making these choices. So if you educate yourself about nutrition through tracking calories and macros, you're going to be in a far more powerful position for your whole life when it comes to food choice. And it's going to have a massive impact on how much alcohol you take in, because you'll actually be aware of the calories in the different drinks, which is rare for most footballers who haven't got a clue. They've never tracked any alcohol before. And finally, habit number 3 is snacking. In my experience, in my opinion, snacking is wildly overrated. It does have some merit with guys who are underweight and who are struggling to keep their calories up. It does have a place there. But at the same time, it regularly gets in the way of those guys eating 3 square meals with 50, 40, 60 grams of protein at each of those 3 meals. 3 square meals can't be beaten really, and if you need a snack food, you can put it at the end of one of those meals. Sometimes, fruit or bananas, dates, things like that, rice cakes maybe, can be helpful to carb up before a game, but that approach of carb loading is wildly overrated. I would be sticking to 3 square meals as much as possible, making sure those 3 square meals are very, very healthy and very, very tasty. And limiting snacks. A lot of guys think they're doing good when they're eating a protein bar, but it's better than a dairy milk, but it's not the best thing to be eating, and I wouldn't be paying too much attention to how much protein it says is in it. A lot of that is very, very hard to digest or very hard to absorb. So then guys, if they're not having protein yogurts or protein pots, they're having stuff like fruit and nuts, which are great foods. I eat a lot of them myself. But if you're trying to be in a calorie deficit or keep your weight the same, you want to be wary of high fat, high carb foods in between your 3 main meals that are low in protein and are going to interfere with your hunger for those 3 main meals. So a huge part of success is knowing what not to do. And that is a brilliant lens to look at improvement in any aspect of your life, but especially football. If you can simplify things to, okay, I want to make progress, but the first step is making sure I'm not going backwards. What do I not do? And if you don't drink too much alcohol, track your calories and macros, and you're educated on your food choices, and you're very aware of snacking and making sure you're not just nibbling away on things that push up your calories with lower nutrition value, you'll be a massive step further towards getting the most out of all your pitch sessions and all your gym sessions. Let's go.